Welcome to the June 9th, 2025 Solvang City Council meeting. I'm Dave Brown, Mayor, and Ms. Clerk, would you please read the roll call? Oh, I'm calling the meeting to order at 5:32.
Councilmember Infante.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Claudia Arena.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona.
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here.
Thank you.
Louise, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We are about to go into a closed session, but before we do that, Madam Clerk, would you read that item? Public comments first. Have anybody on Zoom? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Then I'll close public comments for the moment, and if you would read the next task, please.
Recess to closed session, item 2A, public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1, title City Manager. Item 2B, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, agency designated representative Chelsea O'Sullivan, City Attorney, unrepresented employee, City Manager.
Thank you very much. And before I excuse it, I want to welcome back Chelsea to our team meetings, and congratulations on your little girl. What's her name? And I'll give us the.
Thank you very much. It's really good to be back and using my brain again for something other than taking care of a cute little baby. We welcomed my second daughter. Her name's Robin, and she's very, very cute, and I'm happy to show you any pictures.
Well, thank you very much. We're now excused to closed session. Okay, we're back from closed session. And Madam Counselor, would you give us a report, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. There's no reportable actions coming out of the closed sessions. However, direction was given to staff.
Thank you very much. We will proceed then to the open portion of our meeting. And good evening, and welcome to the Solvang City Council meeting for June 9th, 2025. And we are beginning at 6:33. And
Mayor
Roll-
Brown,
yes.
if I may, could you just officially adjourn the closed session meeting?
I can.
Thank you.
Yes. The closed session meeting is officially adjourned at 6:30 this evening. I know. I just gained a few minutes because we were done. And then we're starting the new meeting at 6:33. Okay, the open session. Is that what you needed for, okay.
Thank you.
Did we get it right? Okay. Thank you. That being said, welcome, everybody. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Claudia Arona,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona,
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here.
Thank you.
Tonight, we have a special meeting with I won't say special meeting again, that's redundant. We have a meeting with a special guest, and the gentleman, scouts from Troop 33 and 87 are going to present colors for us today. If you would do so, we're going to be led by Leo Brownstein. Excuse me. Please lead us away.
Excuse me, Mayor, would you like us to move the colors back and then post them again, or just repost them from right here?
Just repost them.
All right. Color guard, attention. Color guard, post the colors. Color guard, dismissed. All right. Now, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two.
Thank you very much. If you'd remain at the podium, I'd like to present a proclamation. A little bit out of order. Well, that's all right. Okay. This is a City of Solvang proclamation honoring Troop 33 for patriotic and civic contributions. Whereas Troop 33 of Scouting America, established in 1916, has been a steadfast presence in the Santa Barbara community, fostering the development of young individuals through Scouting's core values. And whereas the mission of Scouting America is to prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and law. And whereas Troop 33 exemplifies this mission by engaging in numerous community service projects, including environmental conservation efforts, participation in local events, and support for civic initiatives. And whereas the Scouts and adult leaders of Troop 33 have consistently demonstrated their commitment to patriotic and civic education, contributing positively to the fabric of our community. And whereas we approach our Flag Day celebration on June 14th, it is fitting to recognize organizations like Troop 33 that instill a sense of duty, honor, and service in our youth. Now therefore be it resolved that I, David Brown, along with the City Council of the City of Solvang, California, do hereby commend Troop 33 of Scouting America for their unwavering dedication and fostering civic pride, community service, and the development of young leaders. In witness thereof, I have unto set my hand and have caused the official seal of the City of Solvang to be affixed this 9th day of June 2024. Thank you so much for all that. 25. It's printed 24. Oh, whoops. Okay. We're not infallible, but we do appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Just a minute. Now, we're going to go straight into the presentation. A little bit of background. Earlier this year, I received a comment from one of our constituents that it was so unfortunate that somebody wasn't flying their flag at half-mast. And this was during the Carter Memorial time. And I realized that it wasn't because they weren't patriotic, it was because they didn't know. So I thought it best to have an educational program on flag etiquette for our city staff and people and our whole community. And for full disclosure, I wear my Scout lapel pin, which is proud father of 2 Eagle Scouts. And it is by far one of the best youth programs that I've been engaged with. And so I want to thank you guys for being here today. I'm looking forward to your presentation. And we also have one of your Scout leaders, Mr. Carlos Cortez, who is also the executive director for the Los Padres Council of Scouting America. So we're delighted. And his 2 sons, Nathan and Noah. Thank you for assisting Leo as well. So with that, we'll go into your presentation, and thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Brown, for having me. Like you said, my name is Leo Brownstein. I'm a Life Scout with Troop 33, and I'm currently doing my Eagle project on flag handling and retirement. Tonight, with the help of Noah and Nathan Cortez from Troop 87 in Orchid, I'm going to talk about flag handling and answering some common questions. First, I'll start with when is it proper to fly a flag at half-mast? You'll fly a flag at half-mast following the death of certain federal and state officials, following the death of certain military personnel, during times of national tragedy, and on certain memorial days like Memorial Day, Peace Officers Memorial Day, Patriots Day, National Fallen Firefighters Day, and National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. Next is what do you do during a national anthem when the flag is present? This is fairly simple. You just stand at attention, face the flag, remove your hat if you are wearing one, and if you are in uniform or a veteran, you may salute the flag. Otherwise, place your right hand over your heart. Next, can flags be flown at night? Flags can be flown at night only as long as they are properly illuminated. You cannot fly a flag in the dark, and it must be fully lit up. Otherwise, it will only be flown between sunrise and sunset. Next question is it okay to fly a flag upside down? And it is almost never okay to fly a flag upside down unless it is a dire signal of distress. Now, I would like to invite Noah and Nathan Cortez to demonstrate folding the flag. Now, I'll also mention that it is very important that we never let the American flag touch the ground, and we always try and keep the stars facing up. Now you'll start folding at the end opposite the stars or the union, and you'll start folding in 45-degree angles, making triangles. Then we just want to try and keep those folds nice and tight so the flag will look neat when it is done being folded. Now, when you get towards the end of folding a flag, there should be a little bit left that you can tuck into a pocket left at the end of the flag. So it looks nice and neat as so. All right, and there's our folded flag in a triangle. Thank you. Now, the last thing I would like to acknowledge is proper retirement, and the flags must be burned or buried in dignified ceremonies, and if you do not have the resources to do that, you should give it to your local American Legion posts or other places that take flags, such as fire departments, VFW posts, and many hardware stores. Places that you can take your flag to be retired in Solvang include a permanent collection box outside the library and the retirement ceremony that takes place as a part of the annual Christmas tree burn. We need to respect the American flag because it is a symbol of our national unity and pride. I would like to thank the council, Mayor Brown, for inviting me, and all of you for coming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are you available for a few questions?
What's that?
Are you available for a few questions?
Yes, of course.
Anybody? Any questions?
Covered everything. I learned a lot.
I just have a question. Define for me when it should be retired. How tattered or how discolored or anything along those lines?
Generally, you shouldn't fly a tattered or torn flag. So if it starts showing signs of wear that could turn into tears, it's probably a good time to replace it.
Okay. And waving a flag on this little sticks and so forth, is that any concern, or is that?
No, all flags should be treated with the same respect, obviously, except like the small flags are not the main issue as large flags that are flown on poles, but those should still be cared for in the same way.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions of our scouts that would help them? Well, I want to thank you. Go ahead.
It's a comment, really. I didn't know that they had at the Vets Hall that you can drive right up there and dispose of your flag.
Yes.
And we have such high winds here, it doesn't, flags don't last long. They get ripped and torn, every half year or whatever.
Yes, they do. And,
So
well,
it was stuffed full of flags.
well, like I said, we have a flag retirement during the Christmas tree burn. That's we have a ceremony at that time. But Flag Day is coming up also, so it was a great time to have them here. And I want to thank Leo and Nathan and Noah for being here, and Mr. Cortez for being here as well. Thank you. You're welcome to stay, and you're welcome to be dismissed as well. So thank you so very much.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we're at item number 3 for public communications on non-agenda consent items. Would you read that for us, please?
At
Madam
this
Clerk?
time, you may address the council on items not on the agenda and on consent. Time limit is 3 minutes. We will start with in-person public comments first.
Have we anybody that wishes to make comments? I don't have any slips. Mr. Peterson, please. The mic is yours.
Evening, Aaron Peterson, 1816 Old Mill Road. I'm only here very, very quickly to speak about, I believe that we're not renewing the contract with InterNature to do our public landscaping. I don't think it's on consent because it's a non-renewal. I'm only here to just say I believe Dana and InterNature does a great job. Nothing to say about staff taking it onto the city. She's always done a great job with all of her folks. I just didn't want people to believe that contract's not getting renewed, unless I'm incorrect, that we're not happy with what she's doing. We just decided to take it in-house, as I understand. So I'm just here to just kind of clarify that, speak on her behalf and her company's behalf, which has done lots of private work in the town. I don't really know her personally, but she does some of our stuff, but she's done the city very, very well, and I'm sure that our city staff will continue to do that. It's very important that we obviously do our plants and our flowers and our beautification, and that's it. That's really all it was. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Anybody on Zoom? Anybody else? Okay, we're going to close public communication. We'll move to item 4, city manager's report, please.
Thank you. Good evening. Couple of brief announcements. One, the next city cleanup with the waste management will occur on Saturday, August 16th. As I pointed out before, it's the third Saturday once a quarter. So February, May, August, and November. This time it will be August 16th over here in public lot 4. Yeah, from 8 to noon. You must be a resident and be a customer of Waste Management. So I just wanted to point out, at the last time at quarter 1, so February, we received 5.78 tons, which was commented at that time that it was a new record. This last quarter, the one we just did in May, was 6.21 tons, so about a half ton more of trash, which, although she didn't comment on it, must be a new record since the last one was a new record. So we're doing well there. Speaking of waste management, the rates will go up effective July 1 pursuant to the contract that council approved, I think was September of last year. The rate increase will be for residential at 5.93%, and for commercial roll-off and ancillary services will be a 5% adjustment. That increase will be effective July 1st. So it will be reflected on the bills that you received that include that billing date. And the last thing I wanted to mention, I mentioned the last time the goats were here, they're now leaving. I was told earlier today that Wednesday they will be loaded up and go on to their next fire mitigation assignment. So if you want to say goodbye to the goats, then you have until Wednesday morning to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy, for kidding around. Any questions of our council member? Any questions for Mr. Murphy?
How much more do the goats weigh now that they're leaving? I'm just curious if we're weighing them on the way in and on the way out.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they leave little pellets behind, so I think they kind of transfer that. I know a couple of them were pregnant. I don't know that any of them gave birth, but there might be a few more goats than there were when they got here.
Okay, we'll move on to item 5. Okay, would you read that for us, please?
Government Code Section 53232.3D, AKA AB 1234, and Government Code Section 84308, AKA SB 1439, report out, ex parte communications, council comments, requests.
He's the owner of the Wildwood Project property. It was basically an informational conversation as a new council member, just to let me hear his vision for that land and sort of his side of things. I understand that either current or previous council members or city staff have toured the site. And so if our schedules work out in mid-July, I would love to go just see the site and understand the lower property, the upper property, the easement, and all of that. So I just wanted everyone to know that I had that conversation with him. And then on June 5th, along with Mayor Brown, who was a speaker, attended the San Ynez Valley Economic Summit, which was 4.5 hours of intense, amazing, wonderful information. It was absolutely fantastic to hear all of this. I thank all the speakers that were there. I really appreciate it. And I really want to do sort of a shout out to Tracy Beard with the Chamber and her team for putting that together. I actually took notes and ran out of paper because there was so much that they were talking about. So I was told that the PowerPoint presentations would be available. So I'm looking forward to that so I can do a little deeper dive into everything. But it was really a tremendous experience. So.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I just have a quick report out that on the 27th of May, I attended another budget ad hoc committee meeting, which was a preview of what we are reviewing today. So I've had a couple of rounds of the exercise with the financials. That's really it.
Okay.
And I do want to mention that I did also have a conversation with the owner of what we know as Site C, with Josh Richmond. Yeah, he expressed me his goal, his idea about the future for that lot.
Thank you. Okay, I had a couple of things. Yes, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and Tracy Beard for their hosting the Economic Summit last week. And while she said there was 4.5 hours of speaking, I didn't take all 4.5 hours of it, I promise. I had about 5 minutes, but I want also to let you know that I received a thank you note from the Rancho Vistadores for the parade that they had here in our city. They appreciate that and mentioned us a number of times. I had a meeting with the city manager and general manager of Alisal Ranch today, getting some feedback on their needs and wants coming into the future. And then also I was at the annual meeting for Visit San Ynez Valley. They had an annual meeting, and that was at the Marriott on last Tuesday. And then and it was just basically just that, an annual meeting, a status of where they were and the trends of tourism here in the community. Matter of fact, I think Anna was there as well. And Candace as well, too. Were you there? Okay. And then the last thing I had is that I've been approached by the rowing club at Lake Kachuma, and they have an interest in hosting the Danish Olympic rowing team. And so I want to make that try and help them make a connection with that organization, if at all possible. That's all I had, but thank you. I think that'd be cool. Be on
They would come before the Olympics and
correct
acclimate and train?
Train here in
Wow,
it's
cool.
Lake Kachuma, possibility. We don't have the lake, but there you go. We can host them perhaps. So, yeah, not yet. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, we'll move to item 6. Madam Clerk, would you read that, please?
Consent is for routine administrative city matters and is approved with one motion. These items are discussed only on request of council members. Members of the public were afforded an opportunity to speak during the public communications portion of this agenda.
Thank you. Any discussion or comments by staff? If not,
I do have some questions, so I am not sure if it's comments or questions, but I would want to pull, in order to ask those questions, sorry, I'm not looking at my agenda. I would want to pull the items out of consent so we can answer some questions really quickly.
Which item, please?
I'm sorry, I don't have the correct thing in front of me. Thank you. Item 6D, E and F, and item G. Thank you. So as a result, I would move that we would accept all, make a motion to accept all items in consent, 6A, B, C, H, I, J, and K.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded for approval of consent items excluding D, E, F, and G. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Claudia Rona?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Rona?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, now we're going to pull those items out, and I'll leave it, I'll let you present your
sure.
questions.
So on the marketing contracts, I want to talk, is it okay if I talk about all three of them together, or do I need to talk about each item independently?
I think it's okay to talk about them collectively if your questions apply to all three, but since they're not, we pulled them out of consent, we'll just need to do three motions
Fair
to
enough.
adopt each contract.
So Candace and staff, I really asked a bunch of questions about the marketing contracts, and you all answered really everything I had. Including where cost increases were coming from, comparatives of scope, what were the collectives across all three contracts working fine. You answered everything. So my only concern right now is whether we should be extending to a full 3-year contract term, or if we should remain in a year-to-year renewal. Only because the good news is you've started to introduce some new tools and data and AI-driven capabilities. And in these next 3 years, we will probably see more and more AI-driven tools that could either influence the contracts or drive some of the costs down. And we would want to be able to iterate scope and cost to take advantage of that. It leaves the door open rather than never revisiting these contracts for the next 3 years.
Very good question and points. One reason why staff recommends a 3-year contract is that, and when you're marketing a destination, our synergy, we've been together now a year, we have really good momentum, we've done great things for the city, there's been a lot of things, the best Yale Fest ever. These are things that take time to develop. And yes, AI tools are going to continue to grow. Are they going to replace, marketing individuals? I don't think so, not within the next 3 years. It'll enhance what they're doing. It'll make what they're doing better and easier. But that's the reason why. The main reason why is because we're a team. We've been running all cylinders. We work very well together. It just ensures that we have a group in place that knows Solvang, knows our destination, knows our market, knows our customers. We're not reintroducing a new partner that we kind of have to go through those steps with again.
So will there be an occasion to validate that on an annual basis?
We do the reporting, and I'm sure we could revisit it each year and report what we've been doing, as we do now, and we also have the dashboard. We do the quarterly reports and a yearly report. Randy, did you have something else to add?
Termination of agreement, item 4 in each of the contracts. Notwithstanding any other provision of this agreement, any party hereto may terminate this agreement at any time without cause by giving at least 30 days prior written notice to the other parties of this agreement. So to the extent we feel we're out of sync or otherwise AI has revealed something that could significantly alter our agreement, financially in particular, we give them 30 days notice.
You give them 30 days to terminate that that's with intention to cancel. That's different than opportunity to extend. I'll defer to lawyer on that one.
Well, but again, so something's changed. You want to take that? I was going to say, so opportunity,
Did,
something changes circumstantially. We can't say we want to terminate this agreement and write another one. I mean, it doesn't mean we have to change our vendor or contractor, but we can change the terms of the contract and what the scope might
The
be
scope, yeah.
with 30 days notice.
So Randy's got the contract or form contract in front of him, but I believe that there's mutual, like as long as both parties agree and it's in writing, you can amend the terms too. So that's baked into our regular agreement. So if we want to go with somebody else entirely, we can cancel, or we can cancel and start over with the same people, or we can do an amendment to modify the scope or price or what have you. With their, I mean, you have to negotiate that with them, but it's available as well.
okay. If I'll be satisfied with that if I hear you have a commitment to an annual review or a constant review.
Well, we could do something different, but we have been doing constant reviews in regards to our quarterly reports that are submitted. We have our Solvang dashboard that has monthly and all the way back since they started, all the historical data on everything they do for transparency. So I believe that does satisfy it, but if there is an extra step, the yearly report, then we can add that in as well.
Do we, will we continue our quarterly briefings to the council?
So we're not going to do a quarterly briefing where they're physically here, but they will continue to provide quarterly updates.
In our packets to the council? Okay. So we don't have to necessarily go to the dashboard. It'll still be pushed to us.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you ever have any questions, you can always email me as well. Yeah. Any other questions?
Well, just to your comments, I'm thinking that I don't think this is a good time to let off the throttle. I still think we don't have enough momentum at this point to relax, but I'm hoping that they'll adjust their duties so if they've got AI assistance, that they can spend better and more time either on other things or allow, it's not meant to just pad their margins, so to speak. Hopefully we're getting full value, and I think that's your biggest concern.
It is.
Right, yeah. And of course, staff and Randy, we all want that. We all want that for Solvang. And it is important to not let off the momentum. And marketing especially, don't ever stop marketing. We got to make ourselves be out there in front of the, the tourist and the visitor and make sure that they always know this is a destination they should come to, so.
They've been a very good partner to date. They've been very responsive to the changes we've asked them, adjustments we've asked them to do. We meet via Zoom every other Tuesday. Without fail, they've always been there, and again, they're very responsive. So I have no concerns at this point that they won't fulfill the terms and be flexible as needed going forward.
Okay. Any other concerns or questions?
No, so I'll make a motion to, I'm going to keep them separate. Chelsea, just to make sure I'm okay with that. I'm going to make a motion to approve 6D, E, and F.
You have to do them individually or collectively?
If you could just do one motion per contract, that'd
Got
be
it.
great. But we already did public comment on the consent, so we're okay there. So you just say, I move to adopt the
6D.
6D.
We need a second. Right?
Three times.
I can't,
Three
six.
times. 3 motions.
So I'll make a separate motion to approve
'Cause there's 3 separate
6E
contracts.
and a separate motion to approve 6F. Is that? Sorry, I'm sorry, 6D. A motion to approve 6E and a motion to approve 6F.
So I'll second her motion to approve item D.
60. It's been properly moved and seconded to
Get
approve
one at
item 6D, as in Delta. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Claudia Rona?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to item E. Is there a motion for that?
Well, I made the first, didn't I?
She already made, yeah, all motions are on the floor.
All motions are on the floor for E and F.
Okay,
So
the
we need a
motions have been
second.
made. Okay, I thought you had to do 3 of them.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve item 6E. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Claudia Rona?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
And on council's recommendation, welcome back, Chelsea. Yeah. There's a motion
There's
on
a
the
motion
floor
on the floor
for
for 6F.
Is there a second for 6F?
I'll second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded for approval of item 6F. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Claudia Rona?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, now I'll open it for discussion of item 6G, as in golf.
So I opened this one. I'll open the questions. Maybe this is for Randy or even, I'm not sure who has jurisdiction if it's planning. I think it was Raphael. These maps, the severity zone maps, are only defined for high risk, medium risk severities. There is, I think I mentioned before, a large chunk of Solvang that is not classified. And our sphere of influence in Solvang is also not classified. So there's a, this might be procedural, but I'm referring to another section in our agenda where we're supposed to accept an MOA with the new emergency operations system. And it refers to mapping and an integration of our maps of Solvang to their new system. So it concerned me that this is not classified, and there's a big chunk of Solvang that is not represented or classified in a risk zone. Does that matter?
It's 2 different maps.
Okay.
So the fire hazard severity map is specifically done and published by the state. And those high and very high severity areas were identified by the state. We cannot make them less severe. We could, if the council so desires, go through the process and add parts of the city into one of the higher severity zones, but it's not required by code. The maps referred to in the Genesis system aren't related to the fire hazard maps at all. These are maps, these are zones identified, and there'll be a presentation here.
Okay, because there were
that will
no
explain
maps
it.
in that other
Yeah.
part of the agenda for that actually showed Solvang.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think Olivia has a comment.
It's just on. It's possible that the fire hazard severity maps could be included as a layer into Genesis, similar to the way that the FEMA flood maps have been added to the Genesis system. So they're not necessarily related to one another, but once they are adopted, and this might be more of a conversation with the county, they can be uploaded as just an additional layer.
So
can be turned on or-
okay, then we should take that on. That's a great point, Olivia, because we should take that on so that, because the way I read the MOA, separate part of the agenda, I realize, but maybe we take some action as a staff follow-up, not whether we approve or consent, but to make sure that these maps are fed into the Genesis system, because it will influence the way I read it. Evacuation notices, alerts, and planning, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Staff can
Can
follow up.
Do we
on
need to provide direction to do that?
I would recommend waiting to give that direction until the council's approved the Genesis item on the
Okay, fair
agenda.
enough. Yes.
Okay. Then I'll, if there's anything else, if there's nothing else, excuse me, I'll entertain a motion to approve item 6G as in golf.
I'll make the motion to approve item 6G.
And a second.
I'll second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve item 6G. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Claudia Rona.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next item, discussion. There are no public hearings, so we'll go to item 8A. Would you read that for us, please?
Discussion and possible action to approve the memorandum of agreement, MOA, between the City of Solvang and the Santa Barbara County Office of Emergency Management, SBC OEM, for activation of the Ready SBC Alerts System and access to and use of the Genesis EVAC Emergency Zone Mapping Platform for $0 for the term June 10, 2025 until terminated, and authorize the city manager to execute on behalf of the city.
Thank you very much. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Olivier Riba-Mutal. I support the emergency management within the city manager's office, and tonight staff is recommending discussion and council approval of the memorandum of agreement between the City of Solvang and the Santa Barbara County Office of Emergency Management. This MOA allows Solvang to formally participate in the Ready SBC Alert System and Genesis EVAC Zone Mapping Platform. Staff is also recommending that City Manager Murphy can execute this agreement on behalf of the city. So Genesis EVAC is a zone-based emergency management tool that helps both emergency responders and the public. There are two components. There is an internal platform for emergency managers and first responders to view critical real-time data and evacuation zones, shelters, road closures, and hazards. And there's a public-facing map, which will be available on readysbc.org and on the Genesis Protect app. Where residents can find their evacuation zone, learn what actions are required, and access important resources. The apps and the map are GPS enabled and will allow residents up to 5 zones.
Can you keep up on the slide deck?
Oh, no, we're not, I'm not going through the slideshow.
I thought you started on that. Okay, my bad.
We may reference the slideshow in a minute, but I just wanted to give you the overall, the overview. The slideshow is very detailed, so just thought we would discuss it first, and then Stacy Silva's actually here to answer questions and maybe cover some of the slides that you may be curious about as well. So this, so it's GPS enabled, and residents can pick up to 5 zones to receive push notifications. One of the most important things to note is that Genesis EVAC is not an alerting system. It complements the Ready SBC alerts, which sends emergency notifications via text, email, and phone. And why this is important for Solvang, this new app, participating in Genesis EVAC, is a significant step forward for us in emergency management, in disaster preparedness and coordination. Through this MOA, Solvang will be able to manage and update our own emergency zones and local data. We'll be able to gain access to the additional support and improve our situational awareness during rapidly evolving events. And we'll be able to be fully integrated with the county's operational picture. It'll improve coordination with other jurisdictions during wildfires, floods, or other emergencies. And it will ensure that our emergency communication is more timely, visual, and effective for the public. Here are some things that council should know about the MOA. There is no cost to the city through at least the fiscal year 27-28. It's currently funded by a Homeland Security grant program. Solvang retains full control of the data that we input. Especially sensitive information, especially related to vulnerable populations, remains protected and is not displayed on public maps. Staff users will be assigned and receive formal training, and every authorized is expected to sign an internal use agreement covering the system security, the data, ethics, and emergency protocols. And there is an opt-out clause with 90 days notice, should the city need to withdraw for some reason in the future. And the question is, why now? Why get an app or a new system? Previously, jurisdictions relied on ad hoc emergency map development during incidents under pressure. So, we'd see the emergency, law enforcement, sheriffs would see the emergency, and along with the operational area, make decisions on where to evacuate from this street to that street, northeast, and southwest of that street. Makes it very difficult for the public to understand what that means. The delayed alerts, complicated coordination, and now pre-identified evacuation zones makes it easy to respond faster and communicate more clearly during high-risk events. Santa Barbara County will also launch a public education campaign, bilingual public education campaign, and soon you will see video explainers, radio PSAs, infographics about evacuation planning, and an campaign titled Know Your Way Out, focused on those single egress and ingress areas. Ongoing promotion of the Genesis Protect app and readysbc.org will continue for preparedness. So staff recommends that council approve the MOA with the county and authorize execution of the agreement to ensure Solvang remains fully integrated partner in Santa Barbara County emergencies operations and public safety network. The system is scheduled to launch on June 24th, 2025, with countywide activation plan pending the approval of participating cities like ours. And Stacy Silva, the Associate Director of Emergency Management for the county, is here with us this evening and can assist in addressing any technical questions. And if you have, we've also included the packet of slides in your packet. And so any questions that you have or want to go into more details, we are happy to address.
Okay. Anybody have any questions at this point?
Oh, you have the slides.
I think I have a question, but I'm not sure if I should do it now or wait until there's more explanation. But what I'm seeing is a map that has the 3 color zones, or no color, yellow and red. And that seems to be tied to this notification system. What happens when yellow covers part of a parcel?
Thank you for that question. So the nice thing about the Genesis EVAC system and the training that we have been doing with our public safety partners is we are not looking to split those parcels or have a parcel be covered with the rest of the zone not. And that was a large strategic decision, really narrowing it down so that the zones were not too expansive and covered the portions that would most likely have an impact or need to have a protective action associated with them. So each of the zones within the city of Solvang, it covers the entire city. There may be slight overlap with unincorporated areas just on the outside boundaries so that we didn't split those zones. But each of them has been considered thoughtfully for that purpose so that when a protective action needs to be issued, it is not split.
So on the map, my property has about 10% of it covered in yellow and the rest of it's open, white. So am I going to get a notice based on the yellow? Is that what happens?
I think you might be talking about the previous item that may have been addressed, the fire hazard severity zones.
Right, but isn't that what we're tying this to?
No, this is completely separate from the fire hazard severity zones. Those zones are established by the state, by CAL FIRE, and are tied to
how protective action and risk within the community. This is solely a public safety platform, a tool in our toolbox to help us make decisions and to communicate those decisions rapidly during an incident.
But based on what map? Based on where? How do you know? Who's made?
How about we do the presentation and go
Yeah.
through the slides, and then you may have
Sure.
you may answer some of those questions.
Absolutely.
While we're on that topic, though, does the fire severity maps, I understand the difference, but does it inform any notification or communications?
Not typically. That's going to be left to our public safety officials who are in the field dealing with the situation. So they will have them, as Olivia spoke to. We can add them as a layer to the Genesis evac map so that they could be toggled on or off. But the decisions that are made are going to be local decisions based on the incident that is occurring.
That's what I was gonna say. It's incident specific. So if it's not a fire, those maps don't have anything to do with it. Maybe a flood, maybe other kind of urgent need to evacuate. So you want to turn on the slideshow and then let Stacy start.
All right. So this is Genesis. Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you. I don't know who's controlling, but I got it. All right. So what is Genesis evac? And I think Olivia gave you a really good overview of that. But it is an internal platform that allows us as first responders and our city partners to view an incident that is occurring as well as the impacted areas. Previously, we would have to wait until we either received a copy of the map from the field and could post that and share that, or until we had a GIS technician that could come in and create the map. This system has pre-established zones that allow us to initiate that public-facing map and have those communications much more rapidly than previous efforts. In addition to the Genesis evac, which is kind of our internal facing that the city of Solvang will have access to, it also has a public facing component to it. And so the Genesis Protect app is available to the community on a web browser as well as on a cell phone that they can download. The pre-identified emergency zones, and we'll talk about those in a minute, were created with public safety officials from your jurisdiction and your staff, determining what areas are of most significant risk, determining population size, and other components and factors that went into the establishment of each of the zones. So as Olivia stated, we need this because it's going to enhance that communication. When decisions are made, the city manager, and any other identified staff that are utilizing this system will be receiving that coordination just as we in the Office of Emergency Management are receiving that communication. And we'll know that there's something occurring within the city or evacuations or protective action are being called for. It is really, really important to stress that this is not an emergency alert system. We have an established system for that, which is the Ready SBC system. This is simply a tool in our toolbox to assist us with the mapping and the communication piece. Next slide. Thank you. This is a long time coming. You can see from the timeline, it started in 2023. And with that, here we are today in June of 2025, preparing to launch our public education campaign as well as the platform. And you can see all of the different aspects that went into this effort, not only the identification of the zones and validation of those zones, but also the training that went into it. And when we're talking about zones, and we'll get to this in a minute, there's a lot more than just these are the boundaries that we want to put in place. There are a lot of components that are included in the system that will help our public safety partners as they're making these decisions. Next slide. I think we can go ahead and skip over that. It's kind of tied to the timeline there. As Olivia stated, the list of users include all of our city partners within the operational area. But more so, there's also fire districts and county entities that will be utilizing this system. In addition to that, this is one of the first systems where we have gotten full buy-in from both Vandenberg Space Force Base, Los Padres Forest, the Lompoc Prison, and University of Santa Barbara. Sorry, I want to say UCSB, and I know that's not what they call it anymore. And then we have lots of contributing entities that put data into the system to help us develop it out, including the CHP and state parks. Next slide. So this is an example of what the internal platform looks like. As public safety partners are making decisions, they will be able to see the population statistics for that zone. They will be able to see it both during the daytime hours as well as at the nighttime hours, and we know that that changes. They will be able to also see any pre-identified evacuation facilities within those zones and right outside of those zones. So it will help us to direct community members to the safest place in a pretty quick fashion. Additionally, within the system, and the system is only as good as the data that's been put into it, but we will be able to identify critical populations. So those in-home care facilities, daycares, schools, things that previously first responders may have had a vague sense were in an area, but with this view, they will be able to know that certainly and determine those public safety actions based on what is right for that area and with those critical populations in mind. It does give us the ability to pre-identify locations such as temporary evacuation points, as well as traffic control points that will help direct people out of harm's way and into safety. I do need to stress that this is not an evacuation traffic plan. I'm not telling you how to get somewhere. But what it is going to tell our community members is that when they evacuate, their route may be blocked and they may need to take a different direction. Additionally, within each zone is already pre-established zone definitions and descriptions. So currently, when we do the map, we do a boundary based on streets or geographic locations. In this case, those locations are loaded already so that when we have visitors in our area in the city of Solvang, they don't need to know a zone that their hotel is in. If they receive an alert, it's going to include those zone descriptors, which will help them get out of harm's way. And then to the point of the fire hazard severity maps, those can be loaded as a hazard data. And I recognize that the city of Solvang doesn't have a tsunami threat, but that is a layer that we can turn on, toggle on and off, depending on the area of the county that we are looking at. We can also load things like previous burn scars, our flooding risks, the 100 and 500-year flood risks maps from FEMA, and other layers that will enhance our ability to make these decisions. So this is on the internal side. Next slide. On the public-facing side, it is a little more simplified. They're going to see things that public safety officials have activated. So they have the ability to type in their address and it will quickly tell them if their zone has been evacuated or is under any type of watch or warning. And then it will tell them where their local temporary evacuation point is or shelter is. Additionally, as a partner, the city will have the ability to place those road closures points in there or other points that are important to you and to your community. Going back to, standard processes, if the emergency is within the city of Solvang, you retain the authority for that emergency and control of that. So you have access to the map, the designated employees, to make those modifications as appropriate. And then within that, it will also have the link back to Ready SBC so that individuals can get important information or more information. I do need to stress that right now, the Genesis platform is English only. And in our office, we do have a commitment to bilingual messaging. And the way that we will be doing that is to ensure that within the hazard description or the reason field, we are updating that with both an English and Spanish message for the community that is utilizing the platform. Next slide. As mentioned, this is the app that can be downloaded. So it is a mobile app available on Android and iPhones. It is able to detect your location as long as you have your location services turned on for the app. And if you are outside of your home zone or one of those 5 zones, you will still receive notification that the area you are in is being put under a protective action. So it does help with that community messaging and ensuring that messages get out quickly. I do want to also note that the app is English only. So again, the only aspect of this that will be bilingual will be that reason field, where we will ensure the message is both in English and Spanish. Next slide. And this is, again, another tool in our toolbox. It is not replacing our alerting tools. It does not replace our public safety officials driving around or knocking on doors. Does not replace Ready SBC alerts or our wireless emergency alerts or any other system that we have to communicate. It is a tool in our toolbox that will be used much like other public information tools to help people maintain situational awareness and to take action immediately if there is a threat. Next slide. Next slide. I don't know why that was like that. One thing we do believe is important to ensure everybody is aware of is that we are not going to be including zone names and numbers when we issue an alert. And that is because not only is it difficult for us all to have to remember various numbers, but that may change. And we also have a large population of visitors that are coming in and out of Santa Barbara. And we can't expect, if I say evacuate Solvang Zone 3, that they will know what that means. Additionally, if there's low technical literacy, if they don't have access to the internet, and in the event that you were speaking of a different map, but in the event that public safety officials go against our best advice and decide to split a zone, it makes it really challenging to convey that message. So we will continue to use those points, the street names and locations when we are sending out a notification. Next slide. These are the most common notifications that are utilized: shelter in place, evacuation warning being something is happening and you should prepare to leave, or if you have access and functional needs, large animals, or feel unsafe, you should leave now. An evacuation order, meaning the risk is here, it is no longer safe to stay, you need to leave now. These are the most common notifications that are sent. One thing that the Genesis EVAC system allows us to do that we have not been able to do previously is there is an advisory component of this. So if we had an event going on, a boil water notice or some other type of public safety component that doesn't rise to the level of an evacuation warning, order, or shelter in place, we would be able to utilize that advisory status and still get the information out to the community. Next slide. There is an established workflow. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because it really does apply to our public safety personnel that are in the field, as far as they have the authority to make the modification right there in the field and then convey that information back to the alerting authority. So back to dispatch or to the Office of Emergency Management, and we can get those Ready SBC notifications out. And that is how the public then receives the notification on their cell phone, email, house landline, etc. Next slide. All right, so I think Olivia touched on these very well. Some of the components within the MOA include the Ready SBC alerts, requesting, that is the alerting support from the county. We can send alerts on your behalf within the city of Solvang. Again, the authority lies with the city. It is at your request that we will do that. It also allows the city access to the Genesis EVAC to be able to update the information. And one of the things I did not touch on a little bit earlier, and I can touch on here, is we also left room to add zones. In the event we discover that a zone is too large and we do need to break it into 2 zones, or we need to add additional zones because of future population growth, that can be done, and the city maintains the ability to do that. We talked about the information dissemination in multi-languages, and the agency, the City of Solvang, maintains authority of who has access to the system and how you would like it to be utilized. Next slide. I think we can go to the next slide. Olivia touched on all that. The public education campaign, we have signed an agreement, a contract with Southwest Strategies. They have done various listening sessions to figure out what is important within our community. That is the information we will be leveraging to help them get familiar with this system and know how to utilize those maps in blue skies as well as when a disaster strikes. Next slide. Oh, next slide. Keep going. I'm just here. Those are mine. Oh, I know. So again, our big component with this is the focus on knowing your way out, not know your zone. It's most important that you know how to get out of any particular area versus just remembering what the number is for your zone. Phase 2 will include some targeted outreach for those high-risk communities with limited ingress and egress, those vulnerable populations, and areas that have very small regions or areas that tend to get isolated very quickly. If we have the finances to keep going with that, if we can stretch that budget, we will be able to do those pockets throughout the entire county. Next slide. All right, so really it's all about registering for Ready SBC alerts so that we can notify our community that there is a hazard, recognizing that this map will be available 24/7, 365 days a year on readysbc.org, so it eliminates the number of websites that one needs to remember in order to get accurate information. And as far as the community goes, it's really about knowing your risk, knowing your way in and out, and what are your greatest threats, no matter where you live within the county. Next slide. And again, our launch date is June 24th. We will be holding some special media briefings so that they can assist us in getting this platform into the community and helping the community understand how to utilize it to their benefit. So with that, I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you may have.
Thank you. I had a quick question as to the cost of this is covered presently by Homeland Security. That's a grant for the setup and delivery. What about the ongoing maintenance of the system? Who will be paying for that? And also staff training, is that covered in this grant or is that going to be necessary?
Do you want me to take that? Just want to make sure.
Yes. You want to address the budget
Sure.
piece?
So the budget piece is the ongoing use of the platform as a whole. That includes the maintenance of this system by Genesis, as well as our continued use. So internally, we are not going to have to worry about ensuring that our software is up to date. The Genesis platform will work within our systems. It is web-based, so as long as we maintain working order on our computers and everything else, we will be able to access this system That being said, is only as good as the information that goes into it. And so that will be dependent on the city to maintain that information.
I asked Kelly Hubbard to be a little more definitive than that. It would depend, once the grant is exhausted and the decision is made to keep the program operational, it'll depend on how they decide to allocate it. It could be on a population base, in which case we would only pay a small percentage of the cost. They may disperse it through the fire department, fire district, which would be absorbed in their cost and would not be a direct cost to us. So that decision hasn't been made yet. But the numbers that I saw suggest it would be negligible expense to us directly,
And
like
what
to the
about-
tune of less than a couple $1,000s a year.
What's staff training requirement for this?
We've already been going through that, so.
Yeah, so staff has received training of the software. I attended a training and a train the trainer, and then Randy and I both attended an exercise along with law enforcement to simulate disaster using the platform.
Okay.
And
Yep.
we will be training staff who will be having access to it, and all of our management team will be receiving alerts of changes to zones or updates to zones.
Okay, and then finally, I understand the emergencies of fire, flood, earthquake. Would it include something like a truck on 246 that is carrying pneumonia or something like that, that has a break or something along those lines?
It absolutely could be utilized for any type of emergency where a protective action is issued. In that case, I could see protective actions being issued. But even if it didn't rise to the level of a protective action being issued, if a major thoroughfare like the 246 were closed for a extended period of time, that is something that we could update within the Genesis EVAC map. And that way, when the public accesses it, it will notify, they will be able to see that that route is closed.
Via a push notification?
Anybody within the immediate area will receive that push notification for the zone. And then Genesis does connect to Waze and other, iPhone-based
tools.
platforms.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
I have two questions. One's kind of a sidebar. How many zones does anyone know make up Solvang? Is it really that many? I was worried it would be in the opposite direction. So it's 5 or 7?
Yeah,
Okay.
it might even be 9. We had I think 7 to start with, and as Stacy pointed out, we determined that there was a natural. I mean, for instance, the zone associated with your drive and the senior park up that way was included with the area over in Nyborg where I live, but there's a natural barrier there that kind of a ravine or whatever that it is. So what might require the Fjord Drive folks to evacuate wouldn't necessarily require my neighborhood to be evacuated. So there were some of those discussions that determined. So we created a couple of additional zones at that point. So
And our staff helped define that.
yeah, Olivia and I were part of
That's
that
great.
conversation.
I was worried it was going to be the opposite, that we might even share a zone with Los Olivos or something like that. Yeah, great. So it's very granular.
Yeah.
That's great.
Additionally, we had all of our management team put in any considerations, any zones known as, so things that the locals would know, who lives where, not who lives where, but if there's senior
Yeah.
areas, et cetera,
Great.
things that we'd want to consider.
Okay. Second set of questions really have more to do with our staff readiness. So when I looked at the Solvang attestation, there are a number of items that really expose our dependency on our IT outsource agreement. So for things like the data integrity and security, the hardware device and software compatibility, for example, security breach reporting, have have we passed through those requirements to our IT provider? And are we ready to attest to that capability?
This is not hosted on our system. This is a county system, so none of that is necessarily applicable.
But we have to attest that we take that as our responsibility. That's what the attestation says in the MOU. Attachment A.
I'm not following the question.
We have
Yeah,
to,
so-
we have to initial that we accept these responsibilities.
Sure. So these, it is my understanding that we would pass along all of the requirements to our IT provider the same way we do with our website, and we expect them to maintain a certain level of testing, et cetera. And yeah, so that's what we
I'll
would
give one example,
expect to pass
Olivia.
along.
Do we today, if we have a data breach or a data corruption in, let's say, our address system that we keep on record for City of Solvang, does our IT provider immediately disclose that to us?
We haven't
Maybe
had
that's
we
too
haven't
bad
had
of a
one to
question,
date,
but you
but
get
they
my
do
point.
they
We-
do testing continuously, and would disclose that to us.
Okay.
And I only say that because we've recently done another exercise completely independent of this and more cybersecurity related. So we've had some of those conversations.
Any other questions, Mark?
Yeah, please. I'm trying to remember the name of the app. There is Pulse Point. Do you guys link to Pulse Point?
We do not link to Pulse Point. That is linked to the public safety answering point, so the sheriff's dispatch or the regional fire communications center directly. It is not linked to the Office of Emergency Management or our platforms.
Interesting. Thank you.
Any other questions? If none, I'll open it up to public comment. Anybody wish to discuss this item or have any thoughts? If you'd give us your name and come up to the podium and tell us what your...
I'm Darlene Bayer, a resident of Solvang for 29 years. I'm listening to all of this, and I'm sort of like trying to mill this around in my head. How is that system not redundant from the Ready SB system that advises us now of emergencies?
Yeah, first of all, it's public comment, so we're going to take in your questions,
Okay.
but we won't be having a dialogue.
Okay, yes, that's
Okay,
right.
so
I'm sorry. So
that's all right.
That was another question.
Thank you.
And then I had another question. Mark had pointed out when I looked at our map, we were also kind of half gray and half yellow on that fire map. I know that's not related, but
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody on Zoom or anybody else in the community, in the room that'd like to have a question? Okay, I'm going to close it for public comment and bring it back to the dais. Further questions? Would you like to respond to that, or do we have a comment?
Sure. So the purpose of Genesis EVAC is twofold. One is internally to help us coordinate and pre-identify evacuation zones, and in the case that they need to be used for any protective action, use them. And two is so that visually people can see them, and they'll get a push notification. But the important part of Ready SBC is still going to be to do the alerting and all of the additional information that is put on the website.
So in answer to the question, there's really no redundancy. They have two separate purposes.
Correct.
One
There's-
is for status and the other is for notification. Would that be fair?
Yeah, there is the push notification, but that is not the sole alerting. So yeah, there's no redundancy.
Okay,
If anything, just strengthening of.
thank you.
It's just a tool, an additional tool.
Okay. Well, without, unless there's something else, is there anyone prepared to make a motion to approve this MOU?
Yes, I'll move that we approve the MOU.
It's an MOA.
MOA, excuse me.
MOA, sorry.
Yeah,
it's your-
memorandum of agreement or memorandum of understanding, so MOA, item 8A. It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve item 8A. Is there, roll call, please?
Councilmember Infante.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Claudia Rona.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. We're moving on to 8B. Staff report. Mr. Acosta, thank you. Yes.
Discussion and possible action to approve purchase of an emergency generator for water facilities from Quinn Power Systems in the amount not to exceed $175,777.
Thank you. Mr. Acosta.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, members of the public. My name is Jose Acosta. I'm the utility director here for the city of Solvang. Tonight before you, I have a staff report asking for consideration of purchase of an emergency generator for the water infrastructure and facilities. Currently, the city has 3 generators that we operate for water infrastructure and facilities. As you're aware, we have several wells that we need to operate. We have a water pump station. We have a zone transfer pump station, and we want to make sure that we're redundant in all those areas and able to still supply water in the event of a power outage, a fire, taking out the power poles, or sometimes we have emergency shutoffs requested by PG&E as well. The capital improvement plan did include $180,000 for this purchase, and so we did come in just a bit under that, but we also went out and solicited 3 bids through our Sourcewell cooperative agreement. A cooperative agreement is an agreement that you have with the company that goes out and they do the bidding. They go and request, they put the RFPs out for this type of product for services and also for equipment. And they'll request to get these bids, and so they basically do the work for you to solicit bids and get the lowest bid for you. But staff took it further, and we also reached out to those companies to get their bid that they were providing to Sourcewell, so we did it twice. As you can see, we did receive 3 bids during this process. From Quinn Power Systems, they provided a bid for Caterpillar generator. That was in the amount of $241,000. Although Caterpillar is a higher quality generator, it does have more premium features on it. It is quite a steep price tag for us to pay for this generator. We also received a quote from Cummins in the amount of about $186,000. This was moderately priced, and it's in the middle of the pack. And as noted, the lowest priced quote we received was also from Quinn Power Systems, but this was for a multi-equip MQ model. This did provide the best value as far as monetary value, and it was also going to provide the quickest lead time to receive the generator, get it unloaded, and have it available, start up and training for staff. All 3 of these generators did meet the specifications that we put in our request for quotes, and all 3 of them could be used if we needed them here. But multi-equip, because of their price tag and their ability to deliver and set up and train, was selected as the one that we're recommending this evening. We also looked into servicing of our generators. We currently have a vendor, a semi-local vendor that comes out of Ventura to service our wastewater and our sewer collections generators. They do a great job. We have a great rapport with them. They're responsive, and they seem to satisfy the needs for servicing and preventative maintenance on those generators. We also have a company we're working with out of San Luis for repairs and taking the generators in to get them serviced as well there. So we have redundancy in that area. The city's active. Also, I wanted to mention the city's actively working with our grant consultant, California Consulting, to possibly fund a future generator purchase. If you're familiar with the CIP plan, we do have another generator purchase allotted for a couple years from now. What I'm trying to do is work with the consulting company to get a grant for that generator, and also the new generator that'll be replaced at the wastewater treatment plant through that upgrade as well. It seems to be a good. We seem to be in good standing. We've reached out to them. They've approved our initial submittal and said that we do qualify based off of what we've submitted. They're not guaranteed that we get any money yet, but we are approved to go ahead and submit the application and take that through for possible grant funding for that future generator and also for the one at the wastewater treatment plant. Again, the acquisition of this fourth generator will allow us to ensure that we have proper power in the event of an outage. The primary location and priority would be the state water project, that pumping station. We would also need one at the Zone 2 pump station, Zone 2, Zone 3 pump station, which is up at LSL Reservoir. We have to boost the pressure to go into Zone 2 and Zone 3 there. So that's 2 generators that have to be used for those areas. We also would want to be able to power up 2 of our wells in the event of an emergency. So that's why we're requesting this fourth generator. I did not mention earlier, but 2 of our generators, I don't know if I did mention now, but 2 of our generators are 40 plus years old. And so one of them right now is actually getting serviced, and that's approximately about $10,000 just for that service that's happening there. And so with those 2 being as old as they are and possibly failing, we want to make sure that we have the redundancy, and with 4 generators, we should be able to accomplish that. So with that being said, I'll list some of the alternatives that council can provide to staff as well. We could defer the purchase and continue relying on the older generators and the current generator that we have. One of our generators is actually a newer model. It was purchased about 3 years ago. So we do have one generator that's within 3 years old, and the other 2 are the 40-plus-year-old generators. We could direct staff to purchase one of the higher generators if council felt that was appropriate to purchase a higher quality generator, or direct staff to go out and request additional bids. The one thing I do want to caution about going out for getting more bids is we know that based off of the current economic situation and what imports and exports on the tariffs, the price would probably increase if we go out. Because of this quote that we received, we started this process about 4 months ago. We received a quote, and in that time, the quotes were only good for 30 days. We did have to go back out and get a newer quote. The price did go up $1,000 just on this generator purchase as well. So we are locked in till, I think it's June 26th for this purchase if we want to obtain this equipment under this quote. With that being said, I'll take any questions from council.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Afonte?
2 things. In the report, it says this is a trailer mounted. So is this accessible? So if you need it someplace else, you can move it? Is that its purpose, or why is it trailer mounted?
That is correct. All 4 of our generators are trailer mounted in the event that we want to move from one well site to another site, or if one of our generators failed that was currently located at, say, the state water project pump station. If that generator failed, we can move it and push this one in place as well. So that's why we got them trailer mounted.
As I recall, 2 years ago, maybe 3, it's memories fading, we had discussed solar and battery backup for the generators, electric generators, rather than gas or diesel fired, for a couple of facilities, not all of them. Was that completely written off? Is it under consideration? What do you think?
What I recall when we talked about solar power and generation was for some of the stationary generators, which are public works. For example, the one here at City Hall, that was a consideration for solar power generator here. As far as the water facilities, I don't see that we could have a solar power generator because we want to be able to move that generator around.
Needs to be moved.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there any public comment? I'll open it for public comment at the moment. Anybody on Zoom? No volunteers, so we'll close public comment and bring it back here for a potential motion.
I'll move that we approve it and buy it, because like he said, he's got a few days or the price is going to change again.
Your quote says June 19th, Jose, just to point that out.
Okay, I apologize.
It's okay.
Thank you for.
You need to hurry it up. I'll
Correct.
second the motion.
Thank you.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve 8B, the purchase of the generator. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Claudia Rona.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Acosta. we'll be moving on to item 8C. Are you doing that
It's
one
me
too?
again.
Okay, good. Allow the clerk to read that, please.
Award contract to Tierra Contracting, Inc. for the Nyborg Estates Waterline Replacement Project PW 25001 for the amount not to exceed $2,224,170 plus a contingency of $222,417 for a total contract amount not to exceed $2,446,587 for the term June 9, 2025 through January 31, 2026, and authorize the mayor to execute on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Your staff report.
Yes, sir. So tonight, a staff report in front of you is to award a contract for the Nyborg Estates Water Main Line Replacement Project. Several years back, staff presented council with the CIP plan to start routinely investigating, identifying areas where main line and service lines need to be replaced. Nyborg Estates was identified as an area that is of high priority based off of soil electrolysis and improper installation when it was initially installed. We have quite a bit of deterioration on the main lines and also the service lines at this location. And so we want to, we push this to the front and we placed out an RFP for bid on this project. And so the project is also a key part of the CIP plan, and it was budgeted for approximately $3.4 million. When we get to the pricing, you can see that we did come in under bid, under that projected bid as well. The proposed project at Nyborg Estates is going to include replacement of approximately 4,900 linear feet of water main line, installation of 55 new valves, replacement of 14 fire hydrants. And one thing with our fire hydrants that I want to point out is what we are doing with the fire hydrants now is we're installing a check valve on our fire hydrants. It's a way to eliminate water waste in the event that a fire hydrant gets hit. So a lot of our high traffic areas or areas that we have experienced that cars have hit them, we put these check valves in. And what the check valve does, as soon as the hydrant gets sheared, it sets the ball up in place and it eliminates the water from just running out of the hydrants. So that's one of the things we'll be doing in this area as well. We'll be replacing approximately 82 water service lines and meters if needed. The meters we won't replace unless something happens to the meter during the construction or the meter's outdated, but these meters are still within their current lifespan. We will be abandoning in place some of the infrastructure because it's harder to remove it based off of other utilities in the area. So there will be some abandonment in place. We will be working with the contractor to limit service interruptions for the customers. And most of the contractors who do this type of work, they're very good at making sure that they communicate with the customers, making sure that they limit these water shutoffs. Usually it's for a period of 8 hours. They'll give notification 24 to 48 hours. We'll be shutting off the water on this date from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. So they usually give them about 8 to 9 hour window, and almost every contractor is pretty good at meeting that threshold. Also included in this project are some non-operational valves that we have, and I believe it's up in Sunrise Village. These valves have been identified for quite a while now. It's non-operational. They've either broken in the closed position or they're stuck in the open position. The valve stem is either broke, and so they're just non-operational and they need to be replaced. In the event of emergency or isolation or emergency work, we want to be able to isolate these areas of concern. And those, as you can see on here, there are 6 identified areas where you will be replacing those valves as well. This project is going to modernize the Nyborg Estates area with inferior product, C900 plastic piping instead of metal piping, so that hopefully minimizes the electrolysis within this area. We are asking the contractor to put in the proper protection measures for the equipment out there and for the plumbing and piping out there. And these valves, again, like I mentioned, when we want to isolate Sunrise Village or we have an emergency up there, we have the capability of doing our work properly instead of having and minimize the amount of disruption throughout the city. If you have a valve that's broken, you may have to go back several more blocks. Now you're going to have to turn off water for more customers, which we want to minimize. I do want to note that throughout the process, we did maintain public notification of this project. We put out on our social media what the project entailed, how it could affect customers. We also placed it on our website, and we did a mailer within the billing system. So that way customers know that this project is coming and who the point of contacts are here at the city. The other reason why we wanted to do that is because we all know that during the summer months or even during heavy traffic months here, it is considered a thorough way for people to use Nyborg Estates as a way to get around 246 and get through the city. So we're going to ask the contractor also to put signs out a couple weeks in advance, making sure the locals know that this is going to be affected in this neighborhood. The city did conduct a competitive bidding process in accordance with city and state procurement requirements. Tierra Contract did submit the second lowest responsive and responsible bid and demonstrated the qualifications and experience requested for this project. Although Joseph Engineering did submit the lowest bid, their bid submittal was not complete and responsive to the project manual and its addendums. They failed to submit several signed documents. They failed to include and utilize an updated bid schedule, which omitted some line items. I do want to mention that we did get an email from Joseph Engineering, and they did explain what happened through the process and that there were some clerical errors. Staff is still requesting that the contract be awarded to Tierra as they completed a complete and responsive bid package, and their price was nominal compared to Joseph Engineering. I do want to mention that I failed to mention that the bids did come in. We received 13 bids for this project, which is quite a bit. There was high interest. Most of the contractors on there are notable, they're reputable, so we did get some quality people bidding on this project. The bids came in between 2.2 million and 4.9 million. So there was a window that big in this project. So what we're doing tonight is we're asking council to approve for the mayor to award this contract and sign this contract with Tierra Contracting and allow and authorize the city manager to approve any necessary change orders through the process. Some alternatives, the city's council could direct staff to reject all bids and not move forward with the project. However, I do want to caution that delaying of the project could cause more breaks, more service interruptions, which could range in between 12 and 15,000 based off of equipment, time, and supplies. Another alternative would be to reject all bids and rebid the project. But again, here I warn that if we did go out to bid and based off of the pricing, it could go up as well. So with that being said, I have ready to answer questions from the council.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Afonte?
Yeah, this is amazing. Of the 6 items that you listed, besides what's in Nyborg Estates, 3 of them are within 2 blocks of my house. So I have a personal interest in this. But I've seen the guys out in the street digging around, and they can't. I was talking to Mike. He couldn't open a valve on the water. Those valves need to be replaced. There's some real problems out in that particular area where these are.
If you don't, Mike, he's about 6'2" and about 220 pounds and full of muscle. So if he can't operate it,
I know.
no one
I
can.
guess. Anyway, thank you. I like this idea. I'll go for it.
Jose, we worked with this contractor before, Tierra.
I have at other agencies, and they work on multiple agencies throughout the Central Coast. I see them all up and down around the Central Coast.
Anything else? Are they local? What's their?
I believe
profile?
that's a great question. I don't want to speak out, but they are local. I believe they may be out of Santa Maria.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, I will open it up to public comment. I do have a slip here for this item. Crystal Joseph.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff. My name is Crystal Joseph. I am a owner and vice president of Joseph Engineering. We were the apparent low bidder, as Mr. Acosta stated. And we're here tonight asking that you delay your decision to investigate the issues I'm about to share. So we understand from the staff's recommendation that it's not to award our firm the project, but to our competitor, Tierra, who is, I think, out of Goleta, and we're out of Santa Maria. We were notified Friday afternoon at about 2 p.m. that there were issues with our bid. However, none of these alleged issues have an effect on the price at all. The price of our bid remains the exact same and the lowest bid. The main issue appeared to be that we didn't acknowledge addendum number 2. We did, however, acknowledge that addendum on page A3 of the bid. Our team did download the plans for addendum 2, but when we went to Planet Bid, which is the city's partner for hosting their RFPs, that particular document, which is entitled Addendum 2 with the date on it, it's a 3-page document, didn't appear there. So my estimator didn't download it. We actually didn't even know of its existence, that 3-page document, until Friday when we received the email from staff indicating that we were non-responsive and not being further considered for this project. All of the details and the plan information was accounted for in our bid, and the price remained the same, the lowest bid. There were 2 differences on the bid sheet from the original that we submitted to the one that was attached to Addendum 2. The first one was the fact that there was a potholing that was considered to be a lump sum, which we actually, as a very experienced contractor in this area, accounted for way more potholes than were listed on the particular item. So that price stayed the same, did not change. The second is a separate line item for removing and replacing water meter boxes, which we had already included because the plans had detailed that we had downloaded, but we included that in line item 14. We provided staff with the updated information on those 2 Sunday night after researching and figuring out what was going on via email. The final issue was that there was an oversight. It was a total clerical error on our part. We forgot to include the corporate authority resolution, meeting minutes, and things of that nature to indicate that our signer, President Brian Joseph, who's here, has the authority to sign on behalf of the corporation. As I said, I submitted a written response to staff last night, and because of the timing, I don't believe that there's enough time to adequately investigate our claims and would ask for a delay. Alternatively, I would like to note that under the California Public Contract Code and consistent with the city's authority, stated on page A4 of the bid schedule, the city has and retains the right to waive any informality in the bid. There is no unfair advantage gained by allowing this correction. Our bid substantially conforms to the call for bid, which courts have consistently stated is the key component to this kind of review. The items cited by city staff are non-material and are waivable under the applicable law. We would ask that you waive those as you're allowed to do, or in the alternative, delay, investigate, figure out why that didn't appear on our Planet Bids module, to see if this is something that needs to be addressed as an unfair piece of the puzzle here. But we'd ask you to urge you to delay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, public comments to be made? Anybody on Zoom? Okay. I'm going to close public comments and bring it back to the council for discussion. Madam Attorney, can you enlighten us on options, please, and precedents that we may or may not be aware of?
Yes, happy to. So as the council, you do have the power to waive errors that are non-prejudicial. However, that's your discretion. You don't have to waive errors either. They are suggesting that the omissions don't impact the total cost, but, and Jose, maybe you can help me here, but my understanding is that there was one bid item, line item, that was $0 in their original submission, and based on their correction, they've moved some money from somewhere else and put it in that line item, so the total amount remains the same, but that wouldn't have been clear to staff when they reviewed the initial bid. It just looks like $0. So it's not, we wouldn't be able to tell without their clarification that they could do all of the bid items under the same amount, if I'm being clear. But the main point is that even though they provided clarification, the city's under no obligation to accept the lowest bid because they provided all of that information after the bid period closed. And you don't have, it's at the city's discretion whether to waive any errors or omissions in a proposal.
Thank you. When did the bid period close, please?
The bid period closed June 6th.
June
No,
6th?
I take that back. It was May 6th.
May 6th.
No, I take that back. I apologize. May 6th was May 20th is when the bid period closed. I apologize. We had a pre-con meeting, and then we had questions review, and each week was something new. So the 20th is when the bid period did close.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a comment?
A couple of comments. One is, as was stated, the city may waive. Doesn't say we must waive. The other comment was that they misunderstood the direction in the Planet Bids supporting documentation. It doesn't appear that anybody else misunderstood that direction, certainly not Tierra. So to the extent there was a question or a concern, that was not brought up with staff either. So we're human, understand mistakes happen, but again, we're not required to waive.
How many bids did we actually get?
13.
Enough to, where does this particular bid then, it's not the lowest, you said. Where does this bid? rank
Second
in
lowest. It's the second lowest, yes. And the price range between the two is about $13,000. I'd like to elaborate a little bit more on what our legal counsel stated was, although they did provide an explanation of how they provided their quote for line item 28, it was omitted in the whole process, and we couldn't identify where that money was or how that was going to be paid. They came after the fact and said that, well, we put that money or that bid line item into another bidding part of the project. Again, that's not clear to staff, and I had 4 independent staff members outside of my department review the bid packages, and they each came back with the same analysis and feedback.
So the bidding closed on May 20th, and when was Joseph notified that they were incomplete?
Friday.
This past Friday, the
Yes.
June 6th?
June 6th, yes.
Okay. So, and, yeah, they weren't, from your perspective, you are choosing the lowest bid.
I'm choosing the most responsive bid at the second lowest price, yes.
Well, you've given them consideration. You've already given them consideration just by saying that they're that Tierra's second lowest. So you've given Joseph consideration.
Yes.
Of their total bid value.
Yes, we did. And we based it off the whole package, not necessarily just the price.
Thank you.
Have you used Joseph Engineering before?
I have not.
You have not.
I know that they do a lot of work along the Central Coast as well. I've seen them in other agencies doing work as well, and I know they're familiar with this type of work as well.
Thank you. Any other conversations or discussions? Okay, well, we need to come to a conclusion on this to either approve this bid of Tierra, or extend the bidding process, or waive the requirements. Any options that appeal to you?
I'll move that we approve the Sierra contracting bid.
Tierra.
Tierra.
I'll second.
Tierra, sorry.
It's been properly moved and seconded for the approval of item 8C. Any roll call, please?
Councilmember Infante.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Claudia Arona.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Very
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 8D. Would you read that for us, please, Madam Clerk?
Discussion and possible action to review the fiscal year 2025-26 draft budget.
Holy smokes. What's next? Got your PowerPoint ready? For
Stand by technical difficulties.
It's chilly.
It's great poison oak weather. Okay, staff report, please, on item 8 Delta.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and members of the public. Tonight, we're going to review the draft 25-26 budget, and this is the second year of a biennial budget that was adopted in June of 2024. Tonight's goal is to review the budget, make any recommended changes, and then staff seeks council's direction on the Measure U recommendations. The major budget additions, Business Improvement District, Department Head Training, Document Scanning, ADA and Urban Forestry Studies, along with Mission Drive Operations Improvement Study, salary adjustments for the unrepresented employees, a PARS Section 115 trust liability setup, annual computer replacement program of 5 computers a year, grant funding, the aquatics pool grant funding, and then we removed the FEMA reimbursement for our, I think it was the 2023 storm for the Alisal Bridge. We actually received that in last month. So, budget summary for all funds. Throughout the operating funds, the transit fund, and the restricted funds, we're projecting a surplus of $940,715. This is an overview of the summary of all the funds with the blue revenue, the red expenditures, and then the green is the surplus. It's just a visual. With general fund revenue excludes Measure U revenue because that's kept in a separate fund. So for general fund, we're looking at a surplus of $29,232, with the top revenue sources of transient occupancy tax of $5.7 million, sales tax $1.96 million, and property tax $1.7 million. The next slide shows a visual of the tax revenues, just to show you that the TOT is our largest revenue source for the city. And this is all general fund revenues with the tax revenue in the green, which represents the 3 taxes that was on the previous slide. The general fund expenses for services, it's 28%, which is this lighter blue area, although you can't see this lighter blue area. And this is personnel costs. With every state government budget, personnel costs are usually the most expensive item in the budget. The water fund, we're looking at a surplus of $367,828, providing that we don't buy the suspended Table A water, which we have to budget for every year. Because we are waiting for the go-ahead to purchase that water, and that water is a state water allocation that we can buy from CCWA, but currently CCWA and the county are in a lawsuit regarding that. So once the lawsuit's settled, then we will have the opportunity to buy that water. And this is a visual of the revenue. The utilities revenue is 97% of all the income that the water fund earns, and that's all from the water bills. And the water expense, this is another visual. Utilities, which is the power for the pumping for the wells. That is the biggest expense for the water fund. And then we have projects that is the next largest expense for the water fund. Next, we have the wastewater fund. We're projecting a surplus of $132,187. Same as the water revenue, the utilities revenue is 88% of this budget, and that is from the sewer bills. The wastewater expenses, again, the personnel cost is $1.3 million, which is the largest expense for wastewater. Personnel updates. We're finally fully staffed. I can say the last 2.5 years I've spent mainly hiring people to fill all the vacant positions. And personnel is a significant portion of the budget. However, without personnel, we don't fulfill the citizens' needs and take care of the city. The general fund personnel costs are $4.7 million, water personnel costs is $1 million, and wastewater personnel costs are $1.3 million. Next, we have the Measure U overview. Measure U, like I stated before, is kept separate in a separate fund for transparency purposes. Because we just started receiving the revenue, we don't have a great tracking for it to estimate the exact revenue. So as the years go forward, we'll have a better way to track and get a more of a updated number. We're looking at spending $3.3 million since the earning of the Measure U money, and at the end, if we fund all those projects, the ending fund balance will be $170,907. We took the Measure U budget summary to the Measure U committee last week, I do believe, or 2 weeks ago. And with those expenses, it's $3.3 million with law enforcement, emergency plan, fire safety, Solvang turf, the aquatics pool, street repair, theater fest, video surveillance, weed abatement, park and rec master plan, crossing guards for Yule Fest, Elmo Pintado rehab road project, and parking improvements. The Measure U committee recommendations, the results from that meeting are to have the aquatics pool project have 4 conditions. One of them we had agreed with the budget ad hoc committee, and that was providing the funds upon groundbreaking. And they came up with make sure that the money is contingent upon serving seniors, adults, and youth. So the high school can't just say, okay, we've got your money, now we're not going to let anybody use it. That the funding expires June 30th, 2028. And prior to that June 30th, 2028, if the project deems unviable, then the funds will be withdrawn and they won't be, we won't be required to pay them, even though we had determined that we wouldn't give the funds out until they actually broke ground like we did with the senior center. The other changes were to remove Theater Fest from Measure U and put it into Measure E because they thought it was better suited coming from that money. And then increase the fire safety to $50,000 from $25,000, and then shift the 700,000 to street repair instead of the Almo Potato project repair, to have a little more flexibility in where that money's spent. So those are the recommendations that council will have to discuss and come up with an agreement. Currently, in the budget, we have this slide here. This is how it's entered into the budget currently. So if you make any changes, we'll have to bring back the budget with those changes, and on the June 23rd meeting where we'll hopefully you'll adopt the final, the budget at that meeting. Measure E is 2% from the TOT. We began collecting that in January of 2025. Its uses are for tourism, roads, safety, recreation, 911 services, and general fund use. Currently, as of April, we've collected $205,000. Next is a 10-year capital improvement plan. June 2nd, the Planning Commission deemed it consistent with the general plan. For 25-26, we are looking at spending $11,414,000 with all the projects that staff has come to figure out. We had originally adopted a 10-year improvement plan last year, but because we have Jose back and we have the new Public Works Director, Bridget, back, we reviewed the capital improvement plan, and they've made changes, and that is attached at the end of the budget. So this is just a visual of the 25-26 plan based on which fund is going to contribute money to the projects. So next steps are to provide direction to staff on the Measure U recommendations, or to keep the budget allocations as they are entered in the budget currently, and then final adoption will be on June 23rd. So with that, you guys can ask questions or you can discuss. And Mark has questions. All right.
A couple, thank you, yes.
If you don't mind.
Mr. Infante, you seem anxious.
A couple of things. You were looking at the water fund and the money in there. Is that where the generator that Jose was talking about is coming from?
Correct.
Okay. We, as a council, received an email from the Historic Society about Lot 72 being in the budget. I didn't see anything that specifically called that out, but there was a parking for $100,000 in there. Is that what it is?
Yeah. We had, as parking is one of the council's goals, we had determined that we were going to put money in there and label it that, but it's more of parking improvements. So we went ahead and changed it to parking improvements instead. And staff will relook at the options for parking and go from there.
But so it is not at this point in time designated as a lot
No.
72?
Not specifically, no.
It was never specifically designated for that.
I never saw it in anything, and I was
Yeah.
I was really curious that that letter came out the way it did, and that's why I had to
Yeah.
ask that question. Lot 72 is an interesting case, and I've been involved with it for quite a while, but thank you. I'm done. Thank you.
But on that point, is there something that triggered the letter in the budget? Why? What prompted the letter?
I would assume, I don't know what letter it was. I wasn't given a copy of the letter. Do you know what the letter was? But I would assume it was because we listed it as parking as Lot 72 in the original submittal to the Measure U committee breakdown.
It was identified in the ad hoc committee, as was also the Measure U committee, now the RMOC, or will be in 30 days, that it was mission/lot 72 parking. And when it raised the concern of some of the folks in the Preservation Trust about being specific to Measure U, to lot 72, we changed the nomenclature to reflect parking improvements with the assurances that any changes or improvements to lot 72 would come before the council before any work was done.
Well, it has to. Yeah.
Thank you. I want to also thank Louise Smith and Elizabeth Rona for helping as our ad hoc committee for helping draft this.
It was a
I think-
blast.
I'm sorry?
It was so much
It
fun.
was fun, yeah, okay. But thank you very much for doing that. And I yield to you guys with any feedback you have regarding our proposal in front of us.
I do have a quick question. In one of the, I don't know if it was in the water fund or the waste water fund, I need help understanding. I saw that there was a section for depreciation expense. I understand depreciation as not like a cash expense, so I was just wondering how that works.
A depreciation expense is the estimated depreciation amount that we do when we do the assets. So every asset is depreciated until it becomes fully depreciated, which means you take the original purchase amount and you depreciate it over those years to a zero amount. So that was in the wastewater. That was in the wastewater line item. But all the funds, if they have an asset, they have a depreciation amount. That one just showed up because it has a large asset, I guess, group in its fund.
But I think she was asking because it's showing up as a cash expense.
Yeah,
You
'cause
mentioned it's not
showing
an
as
actual
a
cash
like
expense.
these
Yeah.
costed this
It's a non-cash
money and-
expense. You still have to budget for it, though.
Yeah.
Ms. Smith, any questions? Mr. Rona?
No, I have some comments. I don't have any questions. I did want to maybe ask for, because we're seeing the Measure U recommendations in a little more detail. Before I ask a question, I should probably thank the Measure U committee because I see a few members here. Sorry, RMOC?
Yeah, RMOC.
RMOC. It's still in the budget as Measure E and Measure U. Okay, so I want to thank everyone for the work that you did and the thought that you've put behind the recommendation. So really, really grateful that you've got this input to us because there's a lot of good news in the budget this year. And a lot of good news because we're net positive. We've been able to take advantage of the excess funding coming in from lots of new places, Measure E, Measure U in particular. We have ambition now to start to spend the capital and full staff to go ahead and take action on a lot of those projects. So this is really great example of the city operating in full force, right? To do some remediation. You just heard earlier today, a lot of work that hasn't been done for many, many years, equipment that's been neglected for many, many years. And we're going to go after all this stuff. So that's really awesome. And a lot of work coming from the finance team and staff and Olivia and Randy getting us to where it is. So simple question. The recommendation was to move money from the Measure U from, make sure I get this right. No, I struggle with moving those dollars. That's not my question because I think if we did move such a big chunk, 700K, I'll just, since you brought it up, it's too hard for us to go and find that somewhere else. So in many ways, the rest of the budget is kind of already baked. It would unwind a lot for us to fund Alamo Pintado, which is a huge project. It's really just got to get done, and we're ready to go this year. So I feel like that is not the area I want to investigate. It's more small dollars, but you wanted to move more money to I thought was fire, help me, Wendy, what it says, fire safety.
25,000 additional funds to fire safety, and then move 25,000 for Theater Fest into Measure
Yeah.
E.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to understand, because we're actually spending 41,000 on weed abatement, only 25 on fire safety. And if we can put Theater Fest somewhere else, and it makes more balance for something like fire safety as important. And, you know, just sort of weed abatement has to be done for fit finish across the city, but can we keep a little bit more earmarked for true safety, fire safety?
Isn't weed abatement by definition part of fire safety?
Yes.
Possibly, if it's you know, if it's just kind of keeping crevasses on a sidewalk trimmed, that's different than keeping Alisal Road, because I've seen the city staff out there really weed whacking, and that to me looks like fire abatement, especially along a major fast-paced road. So yes, but it's more, and that's what makes me say weed abatement. We need it, but can we be more equitable on something that's also driving high standard of safety in the city? That would be my input for everybody, is let's listen to their recommendation because it seems thoughtful.
Okay. Without other questions, we'll open it for public comment. And we'll have one slip here. Darlene Baer, please.
So this came about because of the Measure U committee, and Lot 72 was listed on the budget line here. So I'm here to speak about that. Is that appropriate at this time?
Yes.
Okay.
It is appropriate. You have 3 minutes, and give us your concerns.
So I'm Darlene Baer. I'm the president of the Village Collection Owners Association. Hi, Claudia. She's been to visit with us. I'm here speaking as a board representative and also a resident of the Village Collection for 29 years. We were the second house in there. Our homes are right next to Lot 72. We oppose all parking improvements or construction on Lot 72. And the letter that was received also today to you all, the trust also opposes anything. The lease between the City of Solvang and the Santa Barbara Trust Historic Preservation allows for special limited parking on Lot 72. Event parking brings trespassers, littering. This is all of our residents that actually back up to Lot 72, noise, safety concerns. Some even use Lot 72 as a nature restroom. A formal parking lot and any parking improvements to Lot 72 would only worsen this nuisance, basically. Lot 72, I knew the developer personally because he developed our home. We were the second home in there. His intent, he deeded it as open nature space under specific plan number 2 for the enjoyment of open space for the greater good of the community. He then leased it to the Santa Barbara Historic Trust for Preservation. The lease allows for special event parking only in the southeast corner, with construction only being limited to water infrastructure, not a formal parking lot, not any parking improvements. Additionally, the city owns Aliso Mesa Road. However, the Village Collection, together with the trust and the vineyard below, we maintain and repair that road at a great expense to us. So as we've done for decades. So any increased exposure to that use of that road would warrant us to take a close look at that agreement with that or whole arrangement. In conclusion, any formal parking improvements to Lot 72 violates the lease, the specific plan, creates an eyesore, threatens our home values, our safety, undermines the historic park purpose, and the lot intent that Chip Hanley donated it to the city for the greater good of the Solvang open space, not to mention the Chumash aspect.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other comments for this purpose for the budget? Any on Zoom? Okay, we will close public comment. Seeing none, bring it back to council for discussion and direction.
Let me, if I may. Lot 72 is an interesting case for a lot of reasons. If you were here long enough ago to remember the Droney Alice show, there were people that ran all through those homes and destroyed hedges to get over into the park without having to pay. There was a lot of problems. I, at one point in time, a couple of years, a year ago, I'm trying to remember now, talked with a couple of representatives from the Historic Society. I understand they have a budget problem. So
If I may, Commissioner Infante, I do think this is outside the scope of what's being presented tonight. Lot 72 is not a specific line item on the budget, and while we can allow public comment, I think we should limit our discussion of the council.
Oh, you're no fun. But that's a great point. I will quit talking.
Thank you. You had
I'm going to go ahead and make a
modifications?
recommendation. No, yeah, I'm going to recommend that we make two modifications that are actually already recommended here. So I just want to highlight them for my peers, which is I think that it is correct to listen to the Measure U team and or committee and remove the $25,000 Theater Fest from Measure U bucket, move it to the Measure E bucket. So we're just reallocating the same expenditure. So it's still in the budget, but that frees up $25,000 to allocate or increase the fire safety value to $50K. And then I want to underscore the language that they've recommended for the aquatic pool pledge, that it is articulated as a pledge, which
Conditional pledge.
it's a conditional pledge, which includes services for the seniors, adults, and children, so that it is operationally or programmed for Solvang, to include specifically Solvang residents, and that it is eligible for withdrawal if there is no progress to full break ground status for the project.
Is that the understanding of the pool folks? Okay.
I wanted to add something too, and I agree on those conditions with maybe some additional understanding that if no progress is made in 3 years, and that's all the money is guaranteed for, but that doesn't preclude them from coming back and asking to be reallocated those funds or some amount of funds. In other words, the goal, it was actually my idea when I suggested it, and my thinking was, we don't want to, obviously this project's been kind of out there for a while. So just trying to avoid that never-ending promise of those funds. So 3 years from now, if happenstance they haven't broken ground or otherwise made significant progress on the project, that they understand they've got to come back and ask for it again if they still want to do it. Additionally, the non-viable portion of the discussion had to do with it's possible that the school decides we don't want to do it anymore for some reason or other. It becomes non-viable, then we don't have to wait for the full 3 years for that for the time to elapse. So those are just, I wanted to add that additional understanding to the conversation.
But that entry will basically, those funds will be specified or for that particular use for the next 3 years or until delivered.
Right. And again, so the school says we're not going to do it here, that doesn't mean that they don't find another site and say, can we do it there? And will the city still pledge the funds? But they have to come back and communicate with us.
Yeah, the word I was looking for was restricted funds.
Right.
As opposed to unrestricted. Okay.
But for us, until non-viability is established, we have to continue to earmark those funds readily available when they need them in the next 3 years, over the next 3 years.
Right.
So
There would be a
it'll be in the
process
budget.
before,
It'll be a
there would be a
budget
public
line
process
item.
before the council.
Yeah, exactly. So they have to come back if I think that's very fair. I think that's assumed, actually. Anyone who's, any entity that is looking for city participation, I think they would come back.
And I also wanted to briefly comment on the committee's request to take away the specificity regarding the Alamo Potato funding. I would recommend that we not do that we leave it specific to Alamo Potato project. It is a street repair, it is a road repair. It's not random, and certainly the pavement condition report that was given to council, I think it was back in October, identified that particular section of road as the highest priority of any of the roads for repair in the city. So, and as Councilmember Arona pointed out a moment ago, we're almost there. I mean, the design's pretty much done. We're getting ready to put the project out to bid. So it's important for the funding to be available.
That being said, I also think that it's important that Public Works and Utilities, because Viborg butts up to Alamo Potato there, and I don't know if that new line that we just approved is part of that or will in any way affect the two projects. So.
You talk about the connection to Los Olivos?
No, I'm talking about the Nyborg, if it goes that far down to Viborg, water line.
Well, the Nyborg, not
valve replacement and water line.
well, but that's not part of. I mean, there are some valves to be replaced up there, but Nyborg Estates is over here.
Well, okay, it said.
That's where all the
I was thinking
4,900 feet of water line being replaced
Okay.
is in my neighborhood.
Then it's not
And
gonna
I promise I had nothing to do with suggesting that moved to the top of the list.
You said it was in your neighborhood.
Well, he had Nystad is where he's at.
It was Viborg, not Nyborg.
Yeah.
I apologize. Okay, I'm getting it.
Yeah.
There are some.
There's a lot of
I just
confusion.
I didn't want the two projects.
No,
to
understood.
Be conflicting.
Well, and yeah, the repair work, such that it might be in another neighborhood, will be completed before this paving is done.
Okay.
And it is specifically, it's from Viborg north to the city limit, just past Sunnyfield.
With a nod of heads, are we prepared to move forward and give staff that same recommendations with regards to the pool being as well as the Theater Fest, as well as the fire improvement?
Increase.
Okay.
Yes.
If you'd make those modifications and bring it back for final, I think we're on our way. Is there anything else? Okay. All right, any closing comments? Item number 9. Well, I want to wish those dads a happy Father's Day and enjoy, and it's nice to have Chelsea back. Thank you. And
But she stops me all the time.
with good cause. With that, we will dismiss or adjourn at 8:55. Thank you.